Welcome to episode 12 of At Your Doorstep. I'm your host, Kaylee Nix. This is the show that's the complement to our FreightWaves brand, Modern Shipper, where we tackle everything gig economy, last mile delivery, e-commerce, and the way that we are shipping for the modern world. This episode's a little bit different. We're focusing on hiring for your modern world, talking to CEO of Magic, Kemmer, all about what it takes to add to your back office experience and make it work as you are scaling your e-commerce business. Here's a look at some of the top stories on modernshipper.com. Drone delivery is the way of the future, but without some major changes, warehouses might get stuck in the past. Warehouses need to undergo major shifts in both their structural aspects and their operating procedures to accommodate drone delivery. Some of those changes include building rooftop landing areas and separate takeoff and landing spots for single drone delivery drop-offs. Seagrid is expanding its robotics offerings to include a tow truck, a pallet, and a lift as part of their robotics as a service package. Robotics as a service offers a level of flexibility for companies that are looking to automate but might not necessarily have the funds to go all in. Vice President of Product Jeff Christensen told FreightWaves that he sees Seagrid as an opportunity to include a subscription model for robotics as a service, leading to more flexibility for businesses as they grow or shrink their robotics fleet. Today's episode of At Your Doorstep, taking a little bit of a back-end route when it comes to scaling up your e-commerce business. And with me today is Kemmer, the founder and CEO at Magic. Welcome to At Your Doorstep. I'm super excited for the conversation that we're going to have today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Kaylee.
So first things first, give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and then what Magic is, what you guys do.
I'm a co-founder of Magic and president, and we've been around since 2015. We originally started as a way for entrepreneurs to kind of hand off tasks or work. It was kind of like Siri or Amazon Alexa's being powered by people. So you would say, hey, Magic, book me a flight. I need to, get to a business meeting, or hey, schedule me this meeting with, this customer or something kind of that sort. So the very assistant focused kind of work. And then during the pandemic, what ended up happening is a lot of the world, understandably went to remote work. And a lot of our customers came to us and said, hey, can you help me fill in my back end, kind of operational work? And so we started really kind of scaling that up. I've been, a serial entrepreneur. I actually started in e-commerce, selling workout equipment almost 20 years ago, kind of online. I was one of Shopify's original customers in their first kind of batch. And since then, I've done space, kind of working with NASA. I've done healthcare. And Magic's exciting to me because we're really helping businesses and entrepreneurs.
And so what you guys do on the back end of e-commerce is really, really interesting, right? Because e-commerce this last year alone has become really the name of the game. And if you are a big box retailer or if you're the smallest small business, if you don't have at least some invest in an e-commerce strategy, chances are that you're not going to survive what happened this past year and all the disruptions coming forth in the supply chain. Talk to us about what it takes to scale up the back end side and even what that means to scale up the back end side when it comes to e-commerce operations.
Yeah, completely. It's really true that the world is going increasingly more digital and online. And if you're not selling your product online, then you're gonna somebody else will, and you'll kind of get disrupted there. And so we have customers on the small end, like single kind of solo entrepreneurs, and then large scale enterprise businesses and everything kind of in between. And the common thread is when a business or product is really growing, what they'll often need to scale is the operations or the kind of people work. And so the typical kind of stuff that people come to us for is, like something like customer support, for instance. So, when you start selling more and more of a product, then you'll need to kind of handle maybe, customer complaints or like one-off kind of customer issues, or making sure that they get their, kind of product on time, or handling any kind of questions they have. And so people for customer support, they'll come to us and say, hey, can you get us like some, somebody to handle my customer support? And, then we provide them with somebody, kind of at a good effective rate, generally like $10 an hour, generally overseas, although we're going to be expanding to the US pretty soon. And they get like high quality, college educated people that can handle their customer support. They also come to us for things like, marketing or sales. Imagine, social media advertising or Google advertising, very common way to get customers in an e-commerce business, like using Google ads or Facebook ads or Instagram ads. And so having somebody manage those ads actually takes quite a bit of back-end operational work. Also doing sales, like sales calls or direct sales to customers, or executive and administrative work like bookkeeping and stuff. And so there's a lot of like back end work that goes into scaling an e-commerce business. And if you want to scale it quick, that's usually when people come to Magic, because we try to get we kind of like bill ourselves as like Uber for back end operations. We'll get you somebody within a couple days, to do this kind of work. Yeah.
And so you guys are funneling the talent to support these back-end operations for these companies that are moving towards more of an e-commerce space or expanding their e-commerce operations altogether. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to source that talent. You said that you guys are operating primarily overseas. Is sourcing that talent and connecting these people with customer support for your e-commerce clients as difficult as it is to find labor generally here right now?
Yeah, and I think for us, we just kind of like, when we built out our first, product, kind of like the Alexa being powered by humans, it was kind of what it was. We found ourselves, in the Philippines, and that's where we were able to scale up that product. And so we got really a lot of like kind of expertise there. And with this newer product, it kind of just came out of nowhere during the pandemic, and we were able to kind of scale up what we got really good at, which is like, recruiting, filtering, finding high quality kind of people. But there's no reason why, like, you can't kind of scale that up anywhere. And so I think in the future iterations of Magic, you'll be able to get more and more kind of specialized work from wherever you kind of want.
So as more and more retailers move from a kind of hybrid brick and mortar store and e-commerce model to more product online e-commerce, and then probably eventually selling DTC, direct to consumer, after that, how do you think that this is going to change the need for more people on the back end? Is it going to be just sheer amounts of people, or is it going to be we're going to pick and choose what we need help with and just make sure that those people that are helping us are absolutely top tier in what they're doing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And when you can scale up certain things fast and be flexible, another thing that we try to do at Magic is make it flexible. So it's you're not hiring like employees. You have a lot of flexibility, meaning, if you try something and it's not working after a couple weeks, that's fine. You can, stop trying it. So like, let's say you brought up direct to consumer. So let's say you wanted to try, direct sales, like calling up sales customers and potentially selling that. And so you wanted to kind of test that out. In the old kind of hiring model, you'd have to, post hiring jobs, hire some sales reps, maybe take a couple months to get somebody that's really good. And then if that project ended up not working out, it might even be like a 6-month project before you kind of realize, before you get the talent, test it out, and kind of cancel it. In this model, it's like, okay, you tell Magic, hey, can you give me a few good sales reps or one good sales rep? We give you somebody, they could try your project for a few weeks, and it's like, okay, the unit economics didn't work out there. Like, we don't close enough sales. So it's like, kind of shut that project down, and it's completely fine. The flexibility here is kind of important. So in general, what this gets businesses is a lot of speed. And speed, I think, is kind of the name of the game in e-commerce in 2021.
I 100% agree with that. If you're not already, hitting the ground running with what you need to be doing, it's kind of tough to play that catch-up game. That catch-up can kind of be hard to play for those smaller people, smaller companies that are entering that e-commerce space maybe for the first time, or maybe have a smaller e-commerce site and don't necessarily know what they need to do to scale it, to be competitive with the other stores. Talk to me a little bit about, is Magic advantageous more for smaller businesses, for bigger businesses, or is it kind of a flexible solution that you can scale up to any size business?
Yeah, man, it's a really, really great question. Since I started out as a small solopreneur, in my entrepreneur career, the smaller businesses are always in my heart. But I think it really kind of applies across the board. We have some customers who just, have just like one magic, dedicated VA assistant, for instance, who handles their customer support, their email, their scheduling, helping them stay on top of, their tasks and projects. And then you have other businesses who are adding, 20, 30, 40, customer service or sales reps per week or every 2 weeks. So um, I think that ability to kind of get the back end operational work stuff that you needed done quickly, sales, the customer support, the admin work, the marketing, to support your current team and staff, has just been valuable for businesses kind of across the board. And yeah, so it's really hard to like pick and choose there.
So you mentioned the goal to bring magic and bring some of those jobs over to the United States and make it kind of more of a US based, I guess, workforce. Talk to me a little bit about either the changes that the US labor force needs to go to kind of fit in with the magic model, or how you guys are going to adapt what you're doing to kind of cater to the desires of the US workforce.
Yeah, and I want to make it 100% clear. Like, definitely. Like the what I don't think is going to happen is this is going to like completely turn the current hiring model of having employees on its head. What a service like Magic does, in the same way like Uber didn't disrupt like people needing buying cars, right? Like people are still buying cars now that there's Uber out there, but what Magic does in a similar vein is it allows you to kind of like have more options and flexibility and supplement what you currently have, and I think where Magic will be really great. What we've seen kind of, you know, in the Philippines with people there, and then I think we're going to see here is for people that want, flexible gigs on their own, right? So imagine you're in between kind of jobs, or you're trying to decide what you want to do for the next year, and you need something for 6 months. You come to Magic, or you want to, since Magic's also a remote platform. Let's say you wanted to kind of travel the world while you work, kind of part time. You kind of come to Magic, or travel the world where you work full time. You kind of come to Magic. And so what it adds is really flexibility, kind of on both sides. And what I think a lot of people sometimes forget is, employees and workers also sometimes really enjoy that flexibility kind of as well. And so I think it'll give more options for people to make money while you know, kind of on the side, or kind of full time, or giving them the flexibility to kind of think about what else they want to do kind of next. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and it absolutely does. It gives a little bit of options for flexibility as a side hustle. And I'm really glad that you brought that up about Magic kind of feeding into the idea of the gig economy and operating on this independent contractor status. My final question for you: do you think that that kind of gig economy, more independent work focused, is a business model, a working model that's here to stay? Or do you think that as we move out of the pandemic, and has the pandemic really highlighted any of the negative effects of relying on a gig economy?
Man, I definitely think we'll go more and more in the direction of the gig economy, and I believe that like the future is where people can kind of build up their own, kind of brand. If you almost imagine like the gig economy combining with like social media, and it's like you could hire anybody or any kind of talented professional for a price, at a for whatever project you're kind of doing, right? Like, if I was going to start a podcast, maybe I could hire you guys at a certain price to to kind of like help coach me, on how to go about kind of doing so. And so I think, I definitely think we're going to go more and more in that general direction, especially as like, like everything is iterating, so quickly. And so the more that you can kind of pull in people who are more expertise than you as a business person, as an executive, as an entrepreneur, the higher chance you're going to have of whatever new project that you're trying to launch kind of like working. And so we see this at Magic. often pull in experts, kind of contractors, consultants, when we, are starting something new or doing like one-off kind of projects. And so I think we'll go more in general, kind of in that direction for sure as a society. I think the market forces at play causing people to, businesses needing to work faster is going to, kind of force that to kind of happen. And at the same time, people wanting the more and more kind of flexibility on their own. Yeah, also causing that to happen. So I believe big in that it's going to be here to stay and grow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Aaron, if people want to learn a little bit more about magic, maybe try out that flexible working lifestyle for themselves, where should they go and who should they contact?
Yeah, go to getmagic.com. It's a good place to kind of start.
And thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. Go check him out on LinkedIn, and you can catch some of Aaron, your side hustles as well. And maybe we'll have you back on another podcast to talk about what's going on with the Mars on your shirt.
That's right. Yeah. My big dream is to build a city on the moon one day. We'll see if that can happen.
You know what? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was great talking to you. Thanks for sticking with us for another episode of At Your Doorstep. Make sure that you catch the show every Tuesday afternoon right here on FreightWaves TV. You can always catch it on demand on FreightWaves.com or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure that you connect with me on Twitter at Kaylee Nix WX. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and have a great day.